PK52, the Saturday morning meeting. Let's talk a little bit about the way the market's going right now. So as we talked a couple of weeks ago, Bob Carter said that the industry itself, the car industry, new vehicle, will fall about 2 million units short. Now that's 2 million units in demand. I mean, there are people that see a commercial on TV and get an instantaneous response, but there are people out there that need a new vehicle. They've got a new driver in the family. There's so many reasons. They're about to have their first baby, and it turns out to be, instead of one baby, 3 babies. So there's people that have to have a car right now. There are people that are coming off a lease and have decided they wanted to move into a new car. And being 2 million short of just the actual demand is two things. Very difficult at the dealership level because you don't have inventory, and very profitable for the dealer because now the value per car is skyrocketing. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. So there's 1,238 Toyota dealers. So if I take the core nucleus of the salespeople, and I'm not talking about somebody that jumps in the business and jumps out within a year period of time. So the salespeople that stay in the business, whether they move from one franchise to another, I'm still calling that a veteran salesperson, somebody that's been in the business for a while. If you look at a core of 10 per dealership, just the nucleus. I'm not saying there's not 20 salespeople, but I'm saying there's 10, that core nucleus of a dealership that's going to stay with the dealership and grow with the dealership. The rest of people will be transient or maybe in or out of the business. So if I take the 1238, let's make that 1,400. I add a 0 to that. That's 14,000 salespeople out there right now on a Toyota side that are influencers. And I say the word influencers because we don't really use that in the car business. What's the influencer for the car business? Toyota sponsors sports arenas. They sponsor the Paralympics and the Olympics. If you can't go on a halftime show and not see Toyota halftime show, we're in racing. So nearly every aspect of life, in a physical life where you're going out and you're seeing media or entertainment, Toyota's doing advertising. They're spending multiple millions, if you look at over years, billions of dollars to promote the brand. So Toyota becomes its own influencer. But people don't buy cars from Toyota. They buy cars from dealerships, and more importantly, they buy cars from sales professionals. So you can't purchase a car from Toyota. I can't call up Toyota, Motor North America, and order a SE Camry delivered to my house. I have to go through a dealership. So it's very interesting that the influencers can't sell the final product. So who do I think should be the most important influencer? Salespeople. If we're not going to use salesperson as the actual influencer, not the dealership, not the marquee, not the location, not how many years they've been in business, but the actual salesperson, then there would be no need for a salesperson. The salesperson should be the actual influencer. One salesperson influencing 25 to 30 purchases a month times the 14,000 gets gigantic. And again, interim salespeople that come into business, stay 6 months and get out, still sell cars. So we've got a vast network of influencers. So let me do this real quick. So I'm talking about Cox right now, and it's interesting. We sell physical cars. But what's more important in the world today? The mining of data and knowing where and when somebody's going to buy, the trends that the consumers have, or the actual product. And over the last decade, data has become the most important thing. If I know what's going to happen, then I can get in front of what's happening. Back when I started selling cars, we opened up at 9 o'clock and we closed at 7 o'clock. And we were open for business during those hours, but very few salespersons took it upon themselves to, I went to the cattle auction. Again, I was in Texas, so I went to the cattle auction. You went to the cattle auction that was once a week. The big one once a month. You would see everything in the parking lot that wasn't a Toyota. There was no Japanese trucks in the parking lot. It was Ford, GM, Chevy, and Dodge. And so I would sit there and hand out Toyota caps, Toyota key rings. I'd have sodas. And I would talk to the ranchers and the farmers, and they were not interested in the Toyota product until I became the influencer. There was no Ford salesperson in that parking lot giving away free sodas. Sodas were $3 inside. $3 for a soda back then was big money. Mine were free. You know, they come get my free soda and then say something snarky about the Toyota brand. I'm never going to buy one of those things, piece of junk, until somebody else bought one and then they realized that they'd go hundreds of thousands of miles and you couldn't make them quit running. But you had to be the influencer. The dealership didn't advertise. We didn't have a sign at the auction. When the farmers would bring in their cotton crops, when does a farmer get paid? Two ways. Either they don't make a crop and they get a government check and it's giant, or they make a crop and they make their money one time a year when they take their product to the gin. So why would you not be an influencer there? Again, I did that in my dealership. You could verify if you find people that I work for or work with, but the other people didn't. They just sat at the store from 9 o'clock till 7 o'clock. They either sold a car or they didn't sell a car. Somebody either came in or they didn't. I bought my first cell phone. It was the giant bag phone. And it didn't work most of the time. And again, the thing, did I lose you? Are you still there? That was the number one conversation. Then I bought one of those stupid big bricks. I mean, you have to Google this stuff. It was so long ago. And, you know, I was in communication anywhere I went because I tried to sell more outside. I became an influencer. And I didn't even know what that was back then, but I knew the more people that knew who I was, the more engaged I was in the community, the more cars I would sell. Now, influencers in today's market, very simple. All social media is free. I mean, you know, I guess it's not free to Elon Musk, who had to pay billions of dollars to buy Twitter, but now Twitter becomes, you know, it's a giant influencer. Why is Twitter valuable? I mean, most of the people on Twitter are just angry. And that's my opinion. If you disagree, that's kind of what Twitter's all about. So you can disagree, but most people are complaining or griping. Very few people go onto Twitter every day and say how wonderful their life is, because nobody wants to hear that. They want to hear how terrible things are so they can agree with your terrible life, right? But there's no value to that except for data, except for you can learn something there. They're not selling you a product. You can't eat it. You can't drive it. But now, why is that worth so much money? Why do you buy Cheer detergent or Tide detergent or Dawn dishwashing detergent? Why do you buy cotton and not polyester? Why do you buy Wranglers versus Ariat jeans? Who in your life influenced you that, hey, I wear Wranglers, I wear Ariats, you know, I wear boots, I wear shoes, I wear sneakers, I wear hard sole shoes. Who influenced you and why do you make those decisions? You know, why do fashion moguls make so much money selling clothes they put on a model that will never look the same on you? There's no way you could pull that off. But they sell this outlandish stuff and make millions and millions of dollars just to challenge the actual market or be the influencer. You're the influencer. So how do I influence? I've got a salesperson that just asked me the other day, very cordial, asked me the other day, do you mind if I tag you with my post? So I've sent a couple of people to this salesperson not because of their dealership, not because of their products, Toyota. They have used cars also. But because I know this salesperson is going to be different than anybody the customer's ever bought a car from before. This person's learned to market themselves. They're very cordial. I don't have any fear in sending somebody that I've developed a relationship with or through another person to this sales professional, because I know that immediately they'll be contacted and then it's on. Whatever they've requested, it's going to happen. And so now the salesperson reaches out to me and says, hey, do you mind if I tag you? So I'm getting every day incoming used cars. I'm getting multiple pictures because I'm going to find somebody that's saying, hey, Casey, can you help me with, hey, you know, I've just had some pictures come across my feed the other day. They have one. And so this person's going to sell more cars because they're influencing me to influence the people that reach out to me to help them. You know, I get calls all the time, gang, KC, can you help me? And it's never, can you help me find a Corolla? Or KC, can you help me find, you know, just a base RAV4, LE RAV4? No, it's the unicorn every time. It's the one vehicle that nobody has in the whole United States. You know, hey, KC, I'd like to have that. And you know what? I do everything I can to try to help. So I've become an influencer and I'm not in a dealership right now. So Cox says 95% of the people that buy a vehicle were influenced with some kind of video. Okay, it could be a commercial. Could be a really good commercial that resonates. You know, people spend giant money during the Super Bowl to run a 30 or 60-second spot. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. They rank those. But where did you get influenced? Why does somebody buy a Kia? Why they buy a Telluride or a Palisade? And these vehicles are starting to bring a giant premium, and they're selling for way over MSRP. Why didn't they buy a 4Runner or a Highlander? There was something. Was it a friend? Was it a family member? Was it a commercial? Have they ever been in one before? Have they ever owned a Kia before? Have they ever owned a Toyota before? Why does somebody generationally buy a Ford? Well, granddad had Fords, dad had Fords. I've got Fords and my son's going to be a Ford guy too, you know. Why is that? What did Ford do for this customer other than sell them vehicles at a profit to Ford and the dealership? What created that loyalty? I mean, have the cars been that good? Have they had issues with the cars? My dad, when I started working for Toyota, had always been a General Motors purchaser, always bought General Motors. And, you know, he had problems with his cars, but he bought GM product. That's just the way it is. That's the way his father was. And there was no changing his mind until I put him in his first Toyota. And then he was going like, well, these things are never going to break. How would Toyota ever make a profit if the cars don't break? My father said those exact words for me, which meant to me, wow, I better stay with Toyota. If my father thinks that the cars are too good and they never break so you'll never have to trade, that must be something you can wrap your career around. Very interesting that my father influenced me to stay with Toyota, even though he was anti anything but General Motors. So I look at the opportunity we have. When you have an incoming vehicle, pre-owned vehicles right now are paramount. Do you go out there and take 4 or 5 pictures and do a short video and post it? Post it. Post it, hashtag 4Runner, hashtag 4-wheel drive, hashtag best 4-wheel drive in the world, hashtag TRD Pro, whatever. A million hashtags and everything. Somebody's out there looking for that vehicle, and they may not go through Auto Trader. They may just be researching on Google the difference between a 4Runner and a Jeep. And all of a sudden your video comes up or your feed comes up. It doesn't cost you any money to do this. It costs you time and it costs you expertise. You know, backgrounds now are easy. You can do backgrounds on your phone now. So you can be shooting a video on your phone and turn the background into a Toyota dealership or, you know, into skydiving. It's not hard. You have to begin. You know, in every task, you have to start at the first step. And it looks daunting because you see how far it is. And you know that changing everything you do requires a lot of effort. It does. It requires a lot of effort. It requires some pain. But a lot of people that are in the sales industry came through working as a youth, multiple jobs, multiple experience, or they were athletes. You know, so they did extracurricular stuff. They didn't do the 9-to-5 school, you know, go to school, get out, do your homework. They did school and homework and work and school and homework and athletics. And so we've always been that person that's willing to go that extra step. And I find it interesting that when I get career salespeople that realize the market has changed, everything has changed, where people get influenced has changed. And they're saying, I'm not good with that. I'm not good with texting. I'm not good on the internet. I don't understand that. Where did the desire go? When they were on the varsity football team, varsity baseball, or they ran track, you know, or they had 4 jobs by the time they got out of high school. Where did that person go? Why do we put the brakes on when right now the market is super crisp? Be an influencer. Let everybody that you meet know what you do. The question, I'm going to say this again, and I do repeat a lot, but sales is repetitious. So ask people when you meet them for the first time. You know, say, you know, I sell cars for a living. Can I ask you a question? Do you remember the first and last name of the last 2 people that sold you a car? And I will tell you that almost 100% of the time, unless it was a real close friend or a family member, they'll struggle for a name, maybe a first name or something. Not as Bob or Bill or Deontay. I can't remember. Some people can't even remember where, you know, they bought multiple cars. They can't remember where they bought their last car and why they bought from that place. So how is that possible that somebody sells something for a living and doesn't put their self as the commodity. I realize I'm delivering a 4Runner to somebody. There's a great chance they're going to be happy with that vehicle, and it's going to have a great resale value, and it's going to be virtually maintenance free. I mean, it's a Toyota, and we have a legacy of that. I don't really have an issue with that. I feel very confident once I've delivered that Toyota product that it's going to stand behind the customer and they're going to get what they paid for. But how can I allow that person not to know me 4 years from now? How can I allow that person to forget that it was a giant decision? You know, they paid $5,000 up. They paid $66,000 for a 4Runner, which was a $10,000 front end because that's where the market is right now. How would I ever allow that person to forget that I was the person that found that one-of-a-kind 4Runner for them? I didn't stop. I pursued that I'm the one that did all the extra work for them so they could have exactly what they wanted. Gang, you realize I could go on for another couple of hours talking about this. Think about what you're doing. Look at other industries. Man, sometimes we wear blinders and we only see what we do for a living and we think this is the only corridor. You know, what about people selling furniture? What about people selling time on the radio or time on the TV? What about everybody out there that has to be an influencer? And who, honestly, who is the biggest influencer in your life? Who made the decision of where you live, what part of town and what you live in, what you drive, how you dress, what you eat? You know, if you got somebody that's a vegan, they will walk in the room, you don't even know their name. I'm a vegan. You're like, okay, yay. That's fine. But why do they have to tell everybody on earth that they're a vegetarian? But it's kind of interesting. I'd never walk into a room and go, I eat meat. But it's interesting. So somebody's influenced them to be a vegetarian. It's great. But why is that such a passion? I could go on. So make sure that you become the influencer. Start small and go big. The green screen setup for anybody is a green wall, a blue sheet, a blue wall. And you stand in front of it, and for a fraction of your income, a small amount, you can have a program that allows you to put anything and everything back there. If you're not good speaking on a camera, through a microphone to a group of people that you don't even know are paying attention or not, if that's not what you do, then behind yourself, you can roll in, hey, the new Camry, the new 4Runner, or you could put a 4Runner here. You can do anything you want, and now you become nonverbal. You cue it, and then it plays. Why would you not do that? It's so inexpensive to create a market for yourself. Before I go for 45 hours on this tirade about marketing yourself, being an influencer, 95% of the people that buy a vehicle are influenced by some kind of video. Unfortunately, it's very rarely a video from a salesperson. PK52, the Saturday morning meeting.